That's right. It's time for the Dog and Chicken Show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is another edition of the COVID Chronicles, Dog and Chicken Show live. We plan to have Tony on eventually, but right now it's just Phil and myself kicking it while Tony figures out his internet connection. Apparently, Phil, how you doing tonight, sir?
Ha! Welcome, one and all. As if I need any introduction. Welcome, one and all, to the COVID Chronicles Dog and Chicken Show Extreme Edition. I am your co-host for this evening, the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, the devilishly stylish outlaw himself, your king of extreme, Phil KOE, here to chronicle these fascinating times.
Yes. And it does look like Tony finally is logged in, ready to go. Tony, how you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing better now that my laptop requires 2 restarts to function properly. Who knew? Weird.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. So real quick, folks, we'll kind of go through. I did put out a little preview episode, but if you happen to miss that, we do have a little bit of a pre-planned topics tonight when it comes to the COVID Chronicles. We're going to dive into some of the possibilities of what the future holds for many of us and the paths that we start down today in the coming days and where they might lead us and what changes are to come. But before we get into all that, of course, jump onto our Facebook page, look up Big Buckin' Entertainment on Facebook and sign up there. Or if you're a YouTuber or prefer YouTube so you can watch it on your TV and all that stuff, of course, jump over Dog and Chicken Show on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And recently started up a new thing. So, we were trying to pimp out a Patreon to where, we could get some subscriptions and whatnot. Actually, Dave Rubin, and we give credit to Dave Rubin. If you don't know him, he is he's a former lefty turned kind of conservative that does his own podcast, really, really popular show, does a lot of interviews and a lot of good guests on there. But he started his own social media / kind of Patreon type thing. And I have been honored to be one of the first ones to sign up for it and get our own page on there. So you can check it out at dogandchickenshow.locals.com. It is actually a pretty cool thing. You can actually download Dave Rubin's app and then subscribe to our show from there. And so we can increase our echo chamber with just us talking to each other on there, which would be kind of fun. But right now, everything's free on there. We'll have some extra content that'll be exclusive for that one. So we'll pimp that out more. We'll see how that one goes. I'm pretty excited about it. But, well, let's get into tonight. Drinking game tonight. I've predetermined we're going to do, if we say Corona, social distance, or China. Get creative, fellas.
Doesn't even roll off the tongue.
Nope, but somebody's gonna say it. It'll come out. So play along with us and drink along. So I'm doing my normal pregame right now. Just got my Crown and Coke Zero. Phil, you're pretty excited. You got a special cocktail you made up today. What do you got?
If I may have the floor for a moment, this is one that I figure Tony G will be especially excited about. This one I call Fresh Squeezed Orange Cassidy.
Well, you got to put on the shades just like Tony. Nice.
You take a full orange in the bottom of your shake glass and you pummel that. Make sure it gets good and pummeled. So there is fresh squeezed orange in there.
Is this going to be as painful as last week's, Phil? Because I think we lost half of our viewers.
Marvelous. You take 1 ounce of rum, Ron Zacapa, 1 ounce Tito's handmade vodka, fine stuff,
Fun
One
fact, Phil has
ounce.
been informing us, Tito's just making hand sanitizer now. And
Yeah,
no more
yeah.
vodka.
Tito's actually quit making vodka at their distillery. They're now only making hand sanitizer. So get this quality vodka while you can. Then top it off with, of course, orange juice.
Not peach?
Not this time. Not for fresh, sweet.
He's got this weird thing with peach juice. I don't understand
Oh,
it, but
It's the same thing with Crown, dude. What do you expect?
Top
You
it
rate
off.
Crown like 7 stars.
yeah.
Top it off with orange bitters.
Are you about done?
Almost.
I'd like to get into the
Almost.
topic.
We're getting there, folks. But hey, this is
Bear with us.
a
just to-
brilliant cocktail creation happening before your eyes.
Reminder,
Shake.
anytime
Did you
any of
love
us
this
say
part?
Corona, social distance, or China tonight, that is your cue to drink. I will mute Phil while he shakes that up because that is so terribly distracting. I just like to watch him dance, so it is fun. Okay, now you're back, Phil.
Actually, with the orange muddled in the bottom, it doesn't hardly make any noise at all. And then, of course, an orange garnish.
Yeah, okay. So
And
noisy.
now, let's try with me, folks. You and I are trying freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy together.
All right. Cheers, Phil. All right.
Oh, that is marvelous. Tony,
Can
don't
I do a
spoil
drink?
that for me.
Well, Phil's not copying me with the sunglasses. He's copying the King of Sloth style in AEW, Orange Cassidy, and it's an inside joke because almost nobody knows who that is. So I give him props for that. But I have a drink recipe myself. I'd love to share quickly if we have time.
I hope it's
Go for
quick.
it.
Please don't make it painful.
Oh no, it's very intricate. You take Jameson Irish Whiskey Caskmate IPA edition. You splash that in your glass, and then you take some water and just a little droplet of that, and ta-da! A man's drink.
Man's drink. Love it. Cheers, folks. All right. So as I alluded to in kind of the preview episode, before we get into some of the, what's the future hold for, society and where's this COVID stuff going to lead to, maybe give them some shout outs. We already gave a shout out to Tito's Vodka for stopping production and making hand sanitizer. I've found an extreme lack, an almost disturbing lack of recognition for manufacturers, producers, giving any recognition. Everything's been, and judge them all you want, everything's been Orange Man bad. Okay, you can have those opinions, but I think we're missing the boat on celebrating some of the great things out there that companies are doing to try to move through this trying time that we're all trying to just survive through. There was one I seen on the news the other night. It got a little playtime, but it was Minnesota, University of Minnesota. If you don't have a ventilator, you have to use that little hand pump, right? Well, they had actually turned a little motor with a little pump or a pusher and a pulley and made automatic hand pumps for anybody who might be out of a ventilator, and was mass producing them there at the University of Minnesota. I thought that was a really clever idea and deserves a little nod and tip of the hat there. What have you guys seen? Anything innovation wise, or even just a company just laying down stuff kind of like Tito's did, or we hear, some of the other companies. I think last week we mentioned Tesla.
Yeah, Mark Cuban, Bill Gates, who else? Yeah, Elon Musk was doing stuff. So yeah, just the people with the means to help produce stuff in need and donate money where it needs to be donated. That's what's really important right now, because yeah, there's just not enough to go around, not just in America, but worldwide. And that was one of the big things I saw just today was now we have some stuff, maybe, I don't know if I don't think it's being donated, but there's stuff being sold overseas. I think Russia had donated some stuff or sold some stuff to Italy, and Italy wasn't a fan, said it was defective, didn't work. So there's good and bad, I guess, there. But people that need to step up are doing so. Hopefully it's all benevolent in nature.
Sure. Phil, you got any heartwarming stories for us?
Other than other distilleries that I've been reading about that are shutting down their distilling process for making consumable alcohol, and they're just doing that, like in Scotland, that's a very big deal. Most of the Scotch companies are shutting down their distilling, and they're going primarily to hand sanitizing. I shouldn't say they're shutting down their distilling, they're just distilling hand sanitizer. But for them, that's not really a big deal because their stock has been aging in barrels for, in some cases, decades. So it's really not going to affect the day-to-day flow of what you could find on the shelves. With Tito's, that might be a bit different. He basically just triple distills ethanol. It's a brilliant business model. So he's just distilling it once now to 60%, and that's hand sanitizer. Beyond that, it's just God bless all the truckers, grocery store clerks, and healthcare workers that have to be out in all this shit.
Yep, absolutely.
I raise my glass to you all.
Yeah, you said God bless though. That would lead me to the My Pillow guy.
My pillow.
Well, he caught shit because he was praising God in whatever on national TV.
How
I don't know.
Fucking dare he?
I know. How dare he? It's crazy. Some of the discourse out there, I don't know if that's the thing I would shit on him for. He's a recovered druggie, isn't he? Didn't he used to be like a cocaine addict or something and got his shit together? Started a company from scratch, and now he's trying to help out by making masks, and we want to shit on him because he believes in God. That's great.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right in this year of our Lord 2020.
America. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get over some of that insane stuff there. So we'll move on from that. Feel free to jump in the chat. What's that?
Just says drugs. It didn't say what kind, but yeah, he's a recovering addict.
Gotcha. So let us know in the comments if you got any feel-good stories or heard some companies that need some recognition, because everybody in the world's watching this show right now, so we got to make sure everybody can see it. Anyway, one of the things that really caught my eye this morning, I was watching Governor Cuomo, and he was talking about some of the frustrations that he currently has. You got some background noise out there somewhere. One of you get okay. Sounds like it's gone now. He was talking about some frustrations he has with how we're adapting, and I found it really interesting. I saw some of this when I was out and about. So I'm driving around in Minnesota the other day, and one of the folks I'm talking to is like, "Hey, like we started homeschool on this internet program. It was up for 20 minutes, and the whole system crashes, and nobody could do any of their schooling all of a sudden." So it boggled me because he's asking questions like, why is I almost said it. Why is distance learning such a hard thing for us right now? The point I was making was we've had the internet forever. Like, this should not be a problem right now. We have some of the greatest minds and networking engineers in the world, and we still can't figure out how to not have a server crash on us. We don't have the infrastructure for mass-wide internet solutions like that. And then kind of started thinking beyond that of, I'm sure all of us have felt, maybe not all of us, some of us, especially if you've been, told you're not an essential employee, and even some that are an essential employee are probably sitting there thinking like, am I really? Is what I'm doing essential? Like, could anybody be doing this? Like, you start asking some of those questions, and what's going to come out of this with all of us having a different attitude because we're used to the status quo, and how is this, we know the timeline. We got 30 days before this little wave's over, and then we're going to have the exit wave or whatever, and it'll be like June before we're all like, singing Kumbaya, hugging, kissing, and touching each other again. But until then, there's a lot of slow change that's going to happen. And I mentioned that, 9/11 was an instant. Everything changed in an instant. Right now, we're slowly changing from March to June. Our whole lives are going to slowly adapt and change. So I'll open it up with that because that's where I was leading us down. Is we're all going to start choosing a path of where we're going to be 6 months from now. Some of us will return to the status quo. Some of us will not have a status quo to return to. So hopefully we had some insight and some thoughts and thought ahead about this a little bit. But what are you guys thinking? Like, whether you or somebody you know, what's this look like months from now, a year from now?
A year from now, if we still don't have a viable vaccine manufactured, man, I don't know. Like I've been saying, we are very close to. I keep repeating this, but it's something that nobody's listening, nobody's hearing it. We're on the cusp of a deflationary depression. If you go out on the roads, there's hardly anybody driving around on the interstates. You go out, there's almost nobody in the hotels. The restaurants are closed. We have a real destruction of demand going on in our economy. And we better goddamn hope that it's all okay whenever we get some official that says, well, that's it. It's all okay. Everybody go back to whatever the fuck you were doing. How many restaurants are not going to reopen? How many bars aren't going to reopen? How many small businesses aren't going to reopen?
Yeah. How many small businesses are going to be born out of this, though? Or will they be? Because what some of the questions Cuomo was bringing up is why aren't some of these infrastructure things based on our technology already available? Like why is there a ventilator issue? Why is there issues with distance learning? Why is this stuff even a problem? This should be well established at a certain point. Distance learning isn't anything new. We've all, like Tony, Phil, when we were in high school, Jesus Christ, I could see my teacher on the screen and take a class. I remember there was a guy in Shickley that was teaching a class when I was in Geneva. That was a long time ago. No. And it has not gotten better. Like, how the hell is it not improved?
Now, I'm a little ahead of the curve when it comes to the whole homeschooling thing, because what we did for our daughter was, it's going to sound crazy, when we found the curriculum we liked, we printed it out.
Oh, paper. How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
We actually have a physical copy of the curriculum that we liked well before any of this shit ever happened. So, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, if you're relying on computer servers to continue schooling in this era where, like, literally, the reason why that's not smoother than it should be is because everybody in my town is using internet right now. The reason Tony's coming in a touch choppy is because everybody in his fucking town is using internet right now. The internet's going to be a touch clogged.
That's the point, though. Why in the year 2020? Why is that still a problem? I guess is where I'm going. Tony, what are you thinking?
A couple of things that you went over there. You mentioned the window where we've got another 30 days. We've got to set up. You said before we're hugging and kissing. I think that's a pretty short-term possibility. I don't think that's gonna hold up. Obviously, I think we're going to be extended. And then Phil mentioned the vaccine. If we don't have a vaccine within a year, well, they keep saying 18 months. That's a year and a half, and I think 2 years is the minimum before we really have one hammered out anyway. But as far as the online learning goes, like you mentioned, I remember it was still in its infancy when we were, in middle school and high school. I believe it was called Cisco, right? You were probably one of like the 2 or 3 people in it, if I recall correctly. But you would think in the 20 years since that really started being a thing, that a lot of this would have been hammered out. And Phil's right. A lot of it's because there's only so much bandwidth to go around. Unfortunately, we haven't mastered that yet. And everybody's at home. We're all using it. I mean, I'm on a mobile hotspot right now, and that's going to be touch and go or until it runs out. But yeah, you would think, you would assume that in 20 years, we would have had a lot more availability for doing things like this nature. When something like this hits, you would have expected we'd be more prepared to be self-sufficient inside the home. And we're finding out that that's not necessarily the case everywhere you look. In some areas, yes, much, much more suited for it. Some of these rural areas, not so much. Hell, look at the cell service in some of these smaller rural areas. There's no towers to go around. You go from one side of Fairmont, Nebraska to the other, and there's a dead spot on either side of it. So it's not even just an internet problem; it's a cell service problem. We haven't figured out a way to have information and internet access and cell service nationwide seamlessly, no matter where we go. And it makes perfect sense. There's a lot of very sparsely populated areas, especially in this state. But yeah, in a situation like this, we can't do anything about it until after the fact. So it's kind of like the vaccine. We're kind of sitting idly by thinking about how we're going to fix it once this does hopefully blow over.
Yeah, there's a few things there, and I see Jeremy, welcome. We got a few people chiming in the chats, and this is probably my point here, Jeremy. Love homeschooling now. It seems they catch on quicker. I 150% agree, and this kind of goes back to Cuomo's point of if technology can replace that teacher and I have to spend a little bit of time working at home to set my kid's day up and say, these are the things they need you to do. Here's what I did the other day. So I gave my kid his assignments for the day. I left home at about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then I told him, hey, every hour you have to FaceTime with me. And while I'm at work and on the road, I FaceTime with him. He shows me his homework. He shows me his progress. And I help him out for 5-10 minutes on what he's not getting. And then I jump back on the road. And it's way more efficient, and he's getting done way faster. And I'm able to give him extra assignments. And he's learning all about George Washington and John Adams this week, the first two presidents. But you know, I really feel he's learning more and faster, more efficiently. And so that's where I kind of brought up the status quo. We've been so used to, as Phil makes fun of it all the time, we've learned the same way for 150 years of writing on a fucking chalkboard. It hasn't changed. Is that because we don't want to change? Is now that we're all sitting at home to, don't want to just pick on teachers. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but if I were a teacher right now and I see my students excelling without me there, I start to wonder, is my job not significant anymore? Like, am I being replaced by a parent and a computer that can do this better than me just because society says this is the way it should have always been? I don't know.
I guess my thought here is that, yes, the curriculum that we're learning, if you're being homeschooled, the curriculum you're learning, you're going to learn it much smoother, more than likely in a lot of cases. You're going to learn it quicker. It's going to be much more efficient. What you're missing out on, unfortunately, is that social interaction because of the social distancing. That's something that if it takes a long time for us to come out of this, even if it's, forbid, a year, maybe 2 years, if we really can't get back to being a society intermingling with each other, what's it going to be like when those kids do rejoin the school system and have to interact with a teacher who's not their parent and interact with their peers? Because that's something you aren't getting from the school setting. And I think that's important. Drake, yes.
Yeah, he said the social deal.
I said it, but it's true. That's one of the things with the pros and cons of sending your kids to daycare, which, was something we discussed before we started sending kids to daycare. Well, do you want to stay home and watch them for a year or so? Well, then they miss out on all that interaction. They don't make friends at an early age. There's pros and cons. You save money that way, but then, so it's give and take. There's pros to it, there's cons to it, and it's going to be really strange when we do re-enter society. And this just was it yesterday? The school year's done. We know that, and all the teachers in our little town did a little drive around. There was a whole line of cars and trucks and SUVs with the teachers in it, with the addresses of their students, and they all did kind of a parade and drove by the homes and waved and said, "Hi, miss you. Have fun," so on and so forth. It was kind of a cool little deal, and yeah, if we're not going to be back to doing that when the next school year starts and we go through another cycle, it's going to be a little choppy when we do that. But, like you mentioned, what comes out of it that's good. So some of the things you learn in school, like you said, we've learned the same stuff for the last 200 years, right? On the chalkboard, on the whiteboard, we're learning the same stuff. Something we've always discussed is we're not learning some of the real world stuff we need to learn, like changing oil, changing a tire, balancing a checkbook, doing your taxes, stuff like that. Maybe this is an opportunity that when we do re-enter the world, that can be one of those real world things that we start teaching.
I think Tony just solved all of our tax problems. We got till July or something. You got till July to teach your kids how to do your taxes. Yeah.
Bingo.
I don't know if that's where you're going with it.
Well, hey, it's a good byproduct.
Yeah.
One thing that I found very shocking with all of this was just how much of our economy is reliant on our public school systems to, in essence, act like daycares for our children, because even if people have children, they still like, well, we have kids, but let's have the career too. Like, I find that very shocking that there's so much of our economy reliant on just that. Like,
that's a really good point, Phil, because I think we all take it for granted a little bit. Some of us might even go, oh, he gets to go back to school on Monday and I get the day off. I get to get some shit done on Monday while he's at school. Like I could see that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just find it fascinating because when I brought up the idea of like, well, I mean, if we're truly going to be doing this social distancing and people staying at home, somebody's probably going to just have to stay home with the kids. And there was a lot. Yep, drink.
Yeah, you said it.
But someone's going to have
was wrong. Apparently, we say that a lot.
If you have the kids, somebody better be prepared to stay there with them. And I got so much pushback from that very notion before this really got big. I was thinking, well, what the hell? I mean, if you have kids, somebody better be willing to make the sacrifices. What the fuck? So
yeah,
we're all learning that. And now people are starting to restructure their lives to where the school might not always be there, but we are still going to always have these kids. And you might find a new economy that we crawl our way out of when we're done with this. When we see the sunlight, hey, it's going to be a new world.
Yeah, it is going to be a new world, and I think we're going to find a world. I think about my company's organization, and this is going to be a long-term thing. And any large, I don't know, let's do large retail boxes. When you have this mass infrastructure all the way across, and right now it's the 1st of April, by the way. We've warned of this day to come, and now it's time for people to pay rent and pay bills. That check's not coming yet. You got a little while before that thing hits your account, and people are starting to ask for some of their money. Most states and governments have not done any rent assistance or stoppage or any type assistance, especially you think of a larger populated area or lower income areas, probably need to or get something set up or something in place to where we can have we need to avoid the holy shit chaos. I was watching in last week, we gave a little bit of shout out to Jimmy Dore last week and played one of his videos, but I was watching him live today, and it was eye opening to me to see already even some of the, I don't know, I don't want to call him a leader, but a lot of people do follow him and listen to what he says. And he's calling for mass walkouts of businesses and almost rioting type behavior. Like, I didn't think it was productive. I get what he's saying. He's pulling up everybody's Twitter thread, politicians and business leaders, and all of them are just saying what we already know, and none of them are suggesting its solution. And so his solution was like, here, we're going to do this, we're going to protest, and we're going to have walkouts, we're going to do this. So he's suggesting action because government, local governments, federal governments, state governments, nobody's doing anything for the people that are in need. So I'm not going to deny there are people in need. We're fortunate. We're out in the middle of nowhere. I have a state that's like 45th in the amount of tests, or in the amount of positive tests in the country, but we're 15th in how many people we've tested. So like, we test a lot of people and hardly anybody's got it. So we're not on any lockdowns. Nebraska's not any under lockdowns. Probably eventually we all will be, but we don't see some of the big economic struggles that probably some of these bigger cities are seeing. So what are your thoughts? Local governments, are they doing enough? What have you seen on the news? Because it sounds like shit is about to hit the fan, like I was predicting.
Yeah. No, I think shit's definitely going to hit the fan here sooner rather than later in Nebraska, because on the social media pages that are really following this and following what the rest of the country is doing, people are losing their mind that Nebraska hasn't shut down yet, that Governor Ricketts hasn't put us on an official lockdown. I think there's only 5 states left that haven't done some form of lockdown, and Nebraska is one of them. And people got to understand that that's a big reason for that is because of the small population and the big area, but also because it's such a agricultural state. So that plays into it. But at the same time, at this point, I'm like, let's just fucking do it and be done with it. At least in theory, that's going to set some people's minds at ease, because now that it's nice outside, now that we're all supposed to be quarantined, now that it's nice here, I've seen more people outside than I've seen in this town. I mean, it's insane. People are walking, people are at the park, people are jogging, riding bikes. And here, actually, in the next, I think it's on the 10th, Geneva is going to be doing a cruise night, and that's not interaction of any sort. You stay in your vehicle. You just drive.
Geneva just went back in time. Kids are playing outside, and people are going to be cruising.
Yeah, exactly. So there's good. Obviously,
people making martinis and having themselves a knot on the towel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously, we don't promote drinking and driving. Don't do that, because that's bad.
Yes,
but,
that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad.
I don't know. I'm ready for the lockdown. Let's do it. Let's just get past the bad part. And obviously, if we do it and get it done with, maybe, just maybe, we'll prevent some of this from spreading too far in the state that we all share. So let's just get there and get it done with, and hopefully we'll come out better for it.
Yeah, and I was talking, these bigger businesses, and you mentioned the demand is dropping, Phil. So that means supply is got to react, and that affects markets and jobs and our day-to-day lives. So I see even some of the bigger giant companies out there, I see some restructure, downsizing, because what's coming out of this ultimately is a tougher world to live in. I think I haven't seen if they released job reports yet. Usually, I thought they did it on Wednesdays or Thursdays, but I haven't seen anything yet. But we had 3 million last week. I can't imagine it got any better this week. Phil, what are your thoughts? The impact on big business and small business alike. How do we recover from it when everybody's trying to get $15, $20 an hour minimum wage?
Oh yeah, the next jobs report's going to look like a kick in the nuts to the economy. There's really no way of looking at that. No other way of looking at that. This is a very interesting, the president has basically signed off on and guaranteed for a short amount of time the concept of universal basic income. So I don't know if pushing for 15 right now is really going to be the right thing, because that's only going to decrease. We're talking supply and demand. That's only going to decrease the demand for labor if you've increased its price. There's going to be higher demand for automation. We're already seeing that at Walmart's with the auto checkouts, and automation's everywhere. I mean, my business, I'm a farmer. The fact that there's only 3% of the world's population and not 95% of the world's population involved in my field is because of automation and figuring out how to make a tractor work, how to make all these different varying forms of human-made labor-saving devices to make greater yields across greater ground. So if you increase the price of labor now, all you've done is made a massive incentivizing for automation.
No, God, Andrew Yang's got to be just like, I should have stuck in there. No.
Well, not just Andrew Yang, but is that the reason that Bernie hasn't like officially dropped out, because we're entering some form of socialism, come hook or crook, one way or another?
I don't know. It's really interesting when you start. You look at the political field right now, and I don't think it's really smart for I don't know. I was watching Biden's like, I want to talk to Trump on the phone and tell him what I would do, and they brought it up on his press conference today, and Trump's like, yeah, have him give me a call. He's like, I heard he's a nice guy. I don't know him really well, we talk back and forth, across the media, but yeah, sure, he can call me.
Who's that?
Oh, Trump told Biden to go ahead and give him a call. Like, yeah, sure. You got an idea? Let's do it. Like, with that type of attitude, and even I seen Jim Acosta from CNN actually, I wouldn't call it praise the president, but he said, I think Trump is actually taking this serious now. If you would have watched yesterday in today's press conference, there was a different tone, and it's almost scary to watch, because before, he was catching shit because they're like, well, this is just, his rallies. He's turning these press conferences into a Trump rally. But the last 2 days has been really ominous, creepy, and weird, and not funny. Like before, they were kind of funny because he was poking fun at people and he was saying shit to piss everybody off. And you'd watch I was like, oh, that one's going to be all over Twitter. I was just waiting for him to attack him and go nuts over it. But then, like, yesterday and today was just an ominous 100,000 to 240,000 people are going to die. This is going to be ugly. The rest of this month is going to be terrible. That was the message. And like everybody was like, holy shit. And even Jim Acosta like goes back and has an interview with gray haired dude. I don't know why I can't ever remember his name, but he's like, yeah, he's taking this shit serious now and almost praising him. It's strange.
This truly is Trump's version of the fireside chats. For people that don't know, FDR's fireside chats were through the Depression. He would basically have a daily address with the American people. Hello, America. I'm your president. And here's our fireside chat. And I'm going to tell you that everything is going to be okay. And this is Donald Trump's version of this when he has these daily briefings. It's his own iteration of the fireside chat, but you also got to remember that everything he does is visual. He wants people to visualize he is here doing the job. And that's ever since the very beginning when he started campaigning. He's very visual with his conceptualization. Like when he started to run, smartest thing he ever did was do a Saturday Night Live sketch where he was sitting in the Oval Office as the president, because that allowed the American people to visualize him as the president.
Sure.
And this day, flanked by experts, and so it allows you to visualize him the minute this thing's over. He's like, all right, people, situation, what's going on here? You over here, you go over there. I'm going to point and do a lot of stuff. That's what people visualize. And so that's why he does it. And it's as brilliant as his campaigns. Better, because they get like 12 million viewers per press briefing. So it's brilliant in its own right.
it's been interesting to watch his press conferences. I don't know, I watch him more for the science of like what is happening, because I want to get some of the news out of there and some of the facts, but the way he manipulates and handles the sentences and the questioning and some of the phrasing of things is it's masterful. It's almost an art, to where it's really, really hard for anybody to not only follow up that question, because he doesn't do anything any other politician doesn't already do. Like, he hears the question he wants to hear and he answers it the way he thinks he should answer it to, move on from that one, especially if it's a somewhat of a tough question. But everything ends in a positive note. And it goes back to what Phil talks about all the time. It's the persuasion, and I'm ending with a positive note all the time. And in turn, it makes anybody who's asking him a question seem like they're being negative, especially when he calls out, I'm just trying to be optimistic. I'm not going to be pessimistic like you. I'm going to be optimistic. That's all he's saying, back and forth. And so it's a weird, like, it plants that seed in your head of, the media is just being pessimistic about everything. And then eventually they just start being pessimistic. Like, they just start following his lead at a certain point and get angry with him. It was fascinating how he controlled that room that way, because it started off softball questions, nothing really crazy, nothing really hard. And then all of a sudden the more he did that, the harder they came at him, and the almost more frustrated they became, and the tougher questions came out. It was just crazy to watch.
Yeah,
I agree with Phil though about this is Trump's version of FDR's fireside chats, but what the thing you got to understand about that comparison is FDR was one of those relatable, maybe not so much relatable, maybe that's not the right word, but when you watched him on TV, because that's all they had at the time was just very limited bits of TV and radio, he felt like a welcomed guest into your home to reassure you everything was going to be okay. And that's the sole purpose for it. In this case, Trump is essentially doing this out of necessity, because if he doesn't do this, good or bad news, or even if it's the same news he said the day before, the counts going up, the death tolls rising, all it's nothing but bad. And he has to go out and he has to talk about it and find some light spin on. Like you said, he's finally taking it seriously. Well, I guess all the detractors can say, well, why wasn't he taking it seriously before? And I think he was, but I think he still had his Donald Trump troll shtick going on. And I think that's kind of dissipating at this point as we get closer and closer to full lockdown on all states across the country, as we move closer and closer to expanding this quarantine window longer and longer and longer. I think it's really starting to take a toll, not just on everybody, but him especially. One of the questions I did want to bring up, and I don't want to dive too far into politics, in a bad way, but I did want to bring this up. This was something that was kind of a hot button issue the last day or so that I saw being kicked around. But in 2018, Donald Trump fired the U.S. pandemic team that was set up by Obama to cut costs. The theory here being, had this team still been in place, or had he even replaced it with his own team, would we be in a better situation now? Even if we had a team, whether you think it's a good idea or not, whether you think it would have actually accomplished anything or not, but if we had that pandemic response team with kind of a blueprint, kind of an outline of how to go about handling this, would we be in better shape today?
So, Phil, do you want to start on that, or because I do have? Let me go with this real quick. So, I think the way it's framed for most people is that Trump fired this team. He just get out of here. You're fired. Like he did the whole apprentice shit. That's not necessarily what happened. I'm trying to remember. It was like a brigadier general or an admiral stepped out of position. Trump did fire one person that was kind of heading that team. And then the entire department decided that let's just remove that team because we have no leadership for him anyway, and just dissolved all the positions and did not appoint anybody or bring the new team in there. So technically, yeah, he fired the team, if you want to look at it that way. To me, it was more of a series of events with somebody getting fired that led to this team going away. We can argue back and forth semantics on if he fired or not, but that's how it laid out. Now, if you focus on just that fact. Now, if we did have that team in hindsight, shit, might not have been a bad thing to have. Might not have been a bad thing to have a couple experts sitting around with some plans in place to say, oh, hey, go-to guy. But would this one person have had any idea what the fuck to do a month ago when we actually did something? Or would it just be another person on the payroll that did nothing? Like there's a bunch today. I don't know.
It's like having insurance.
Yeah.
Chicken, I'm kind of more of that second train of thought, where, like, if Tony asks, because if I'm going to boil the question down, it's like, so where would we be in an alternate universe where we didn't fire a bunch of Washington bureaucrats that study disease but don't do anything about them? My answer would be probably right about where we are right now. That's where I think we would be. The idea that, oh my God, without these 10 people in suits in Washington, if it would have just been for them, the contagion wouldn't have spread. I just don't believe that. That's the problem with viruses.
I don't think anybody thinks that extreme, that we would have been able to prevent this on a national scale. I think for the most part, what people take issue with is we saw people are saying, well, they had things that they, were tipped off about. Maybe they could have predicted this because this could have been a thing. And had this been in place, even in, nostalgic form or metaphorically speaking, you have this team in place, at least then you can kind of divert some of the blame off of Donald Trump because he didn't do this right, because he didn't have the necessary personnel. And nobody thinks that a pandemic response team is going to be in Washington fighting and controlling this and finding a cure for it. It's about responding to it. We would have been maybe a bit more organized.
So Mike, I don't know, since we're going to go to imagination land, let's say we started this podcast 10 years ago and I was there when my sister made out with Joe Rogan and I could have had the most popular fucking podcast in the world. If you want to go down that road, since we're playing imagination land, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
Phil, go ahead.
Chicken, I really think you need to have your sister on to, tell that story now. I mean, that's probably going to be one of the biggest, most viewed stories we have in our podcast history. Wait, Joe Rogan? What? Why didn't you
I'm familiar with that one.
But, all that.
If she's watching, she's like, you fucker.
You fucker.
I apologize, but, hey, come on. Who doesn't want to hear that story?
It was relevant to your imagination land of, if we kept these people that tried to act important and when a crisis, you know what happens to most of these departments? Like what happened to FEMA? FEMA was a new government entity, and then Katrina happened. What happened during that time? We found out FEMA was fucking useless because their leadership was completely unprepared. The dude was like, he was like a horse race guy or some shit that was running FEMA at the time of that. So like time and time again, history repeats itself. We create these bureaucracies with these, puppet leaders that just sit there and make taxpayer money and don't actually do anything. And then when it's time to put up or shut up, and it's like, hey man, this is why we've been paying you for 10 fucking years. Time to do your job. They're like, I don't know what to do. Like, I think that's what we would have seen. And we might even be in worse shape right now if we would have kept them. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But again, it's imagination land. So
it's all hindsight, and it's easy to look at a situation where 2 years ago, the Trump fires a group of people called the pandemic response team.
He fired one person.
Well, neither here nor there. That group ceases to exist because of even one fire. It's gone. 2 years later, holy shit, massive worldwide pandemic. So it's easy to go, well, this is clearly all his fault. It's not that simple. It's not that black and white. And you're right. We don't know if it would have helped or not, because who's to say that what they would have actually been trained to do in response to something like this would have been a completely different kind of pandemic than the one that we are facing here today. So it's all hindsight. It's all opinion. It's all mythological, unfortunately. And yeah, it would have been nice if we had the team in place, because then we could at least shifted the blame a little bit that direction, or shifted some of the praise that maybe Trump's not getting because of the name Donald Trump. So yeah, hindsight.
Yeah. Just reminded anybody who's tuning in late, tonight's drinking game. If you see the little scroller across the bottom, the C word, the SD word, or the C word. Lynn likes to say it just like Trump does, so I'm sure he's just waiting for it.
TC? What's that?
Never mind, Phil. So, Phil, you want to round out your thoughts on that? Firing the team or not firing the team, would it have made a difference?
Well, I mean, in light of our drinking game, I just don't think they would have brought about self-quarantine because of the coronavirus.
And there we go. Drink.
Twice.
Why?
Because
you only said the C word.
Self-quarantine and coronavirus.
Nah, self-quarantine's not one of them.
It's social distancing.
You son of a bitch.
So we should have socially distanced because of coronavirus?
Motherfucker. All right.
All right. That's enough of that. All right.
Yeah, we're not all drinking fuzzy martinis with orange peels in them, Phil.
Yeah, this could get rough real quick, man. You gotta watch it. Our last topic of the night is the C word, so you know it's gonna get rough at the end. So
I don't think women like that word, dude. We probably shouldn't talk about it.
No, not the 4-letter C word.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yes. So
word.
Yeah. So bold predictions. Let's talk about how we come out of this. What are the bold predictions? No matter what the loss of life is, if this goes better or worse than what's predicted, what major thing do you think is going to change in our day-to-day lives coming out of this, say 2, 3, 4 years from now? Anybody want to go first?
I think the big thing is going to be curriculum, for one. We're already seeing that have to evolve and change and adapt to a scenario we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And I don't think it's going to go away. I think this is just going to be incorporated into standard learning from here on out. And we don't have that pandemic response team. Bet your ass we're going to have it in the coming months and years. That's going to happen. As far as people moving forward past this, once we come out of it, regardless of the numbers, I think you're going to see a lot more people be much more germophobic, much more conscientious of how they interact with people. I think we're definitely looking at something, maybe even on a minute scale, like you saw. And of course, we're going to mention it again, Demolition Man, where they don't touch when they high five. And there's all these different ways they go about it, because everybody's germophobic. And I think this is going to scare the hell out of people for years and even decades to come, because this is something that's probably going to be something we have to deal with, not just this time around. It's going to be part of life now, regardless of how the vaccinations work, how the treatment works. It's something you're going to have to be wary of and be conscious of. So I think this probably sobers people up into realizing that you can't just ignore things like germs and bacteria and touching things and being willy-nilly with not washing your hands properly. As stupid as that is, we should all know that. We should all do it, but maybe we're not as good at it as we thought we were. But I think that's going to be one of the big things that changes moving forward.
Yeah. Phil?
I don't know if you guys have ever seen, you guys have both watched Doomsday Preppers, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Great show. Okay. I love it. I like to go back and watch the old ones. They're fun.
Down in Kansas, there's these hippies that live in an old missile silo. Have you guys seen that episode?
Yes. Yes, I have.
T, have you? No? Okay. Chicken, I think shit like that is going to become a lot more common in our in the day-to-day. We're all going to know one family that lives in some sort of germ-free, I don't know, some sort of germ-free bunker. We're all going to know one family that's got some germ fallback should the next pandemic come.
I don't know if it's just going to be the pandemic, though, Phil. We're going to be living in bunkers because everybody's going to be terrified with the potential wars overseas, with where this originated and how we interact with foreign countries getting out of this. And obviously, I know you wanted to talk about it sooner. I don't mean to cut you off, but people are going to be worried not just about pandemic, but what are the lasting effects this has with foreign relations?
Yeah. Those hippies in the bunker in Kansas are starting to sound kind of smart. So if you're watching, but I will say, yeah, shit like that's going to become very, very common. Everybody's going to have these weird, the old fallout shelters of the 1950s. Atom bomb baby, like that shit's coming back. Like that's my big prediction on all this.
I think mine's going to be, and I guess this will take us into one of the comments. I think mainstream media. I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but we've seen their approval rating in the low 30s. Even Congress is more trusted than the mainstream media right now, and Donald Trump's twice as more trusted than the mainstream media, and all they do is try to destroy him. So it's really interesting to see how disappointed the Americans are with our news sources. And it doesn't matter. All of them, left, right, all of them. And then they try to buy up and destroy all the little ones that are actually trying to tell the real news. So with the news, folks, stay local. Look at your local stories. Those are the real journalists. Those are the real people out there doing the real work. But I do like this question. Was this situation bigger only because of the media? I've heard this many, many times, and I'll give you my 2 cents on it real quick. I'll let you guys hash it out. I yes and no, because I feel like the media, a lot of people are framing it that the media blew this up and made us like freak out, and this becomes this really huge deal. 100,000, 240,000 people are going to die. So it is a big deal. This is something to be worried about, and it's something that should not have been downplayed. Now, the media downplayed it, and they all want to, point fingers at everybody else saying somebody else downplayed it, but everybody downplayed it. I don't give a shit who you are. Everybody made a joke about this. Everybody made a meme about this, all of us included. There was very few people that took this serious, and honestly, it's crazy to think that the media overhyped it so we would have this mass hysteria and market collapse or any type of conspiracy theory with it. I don't think that's happened. I think what happened was the opposite. Is the media did their bullshit, and then when they did start to raise the alarms, most of us were like, fuck off, we don't trust you, because they have not been trustworthy in the past. So we were like, oh, well, all of a sudden now they want to start saying this is something. Yeah, I'll wait and see what happens. It's funny, a bunch of people have a rule: wait 24 to 48 hours after a news article comes out before you actually read it, because half the time it's not fucking true. So it's a good rule to have, but that's unfortunately how today works. So yes and no, Heather, I guess is the answer that I have for you. Is yeah, they made it bigger than it should have been because they were not trustworthy to begin with. So when they finally did raise the alarms, we weren't listening. So it got worse faster.
I agree with most of that. I agree with most of what you just said. That's spot on. Yeah, I what I don't like, I guess, from the media is, like, granted, I'm not watching it all day, every day, because it's mostly the same stuff, pointing fingers and saying how bad this person is or how bad this person's not. And what I don't like are the big, like, we keep showing the numbers on the screen, right? Well, they're not mentioning the fact that these numbers are also going up because we didn't have testing for as long as we did. So when we finally started getting testing going, that's when you really started seeing all those numbers skyrocket. Like, people were infected. We didn't know about it. We couldn't know about it. So that had a big jump. And obviously the numbers were going to go up regardless. What I don't like is showcasing the numbers and then just saying, well, we should have done it differently. The president should have done it differently. The state's doing it wrong. This state's doing it right. We should all be, we're all fighting internally over it when that's the last live during a crisis like this. And it is a big deal. You're right. We did all downplay it.
Yeah. Phil, what are your thoughts?
In terms of the media trying to fearmonger, if it bleeds, it leads. That's the first rule of the media. I think a lot of people weren't taking this seriously until Italy. When Italy started to have the 2 days that it had one day where 192 people died in one day from coronavirus. That's when I started taking the shit serious. Then about a week later, they had 680 people die in one day. Then I was like, okay, all right, I'm paying attention now. At that point, the media was doing a very unusual job. They were trying to sow as much fear as possible and try to squash as much optimism as possible. Now, granted, I understand the reasoning. Like, oh my God, we're in a pandemic. But at the same time, it is somewhat irresponsible when your media is sowing fear. So I do understand your concern there. But this one's a bit of a conundrum, I will say. This is why we're here chronicling this, because future generations are going to look back on this particular little stretch of time curiously, and we're here to tell them what.
Yeah, I like what Lynn put on here. Remember after 9/11, everybody had the flags hanging off their cars. 4 months later, they were mostly gone. That's how long it'll take. It will be with America 4 months from now, back to normal, not washing their hands and canceling people on Twitter. I'm sure there'll be some of that. I don't know. I hope we're not, but I don't know.
I kind of hope we are. I hope we can return to that much of a level of normal that quickly. That would actually be quite good.
It'd be back to that goes back to my original argument. It would just go back to status quo, and not progressing with innovations and new ideas and new ways of doing shit. I think this is a chance for us to unlock some unknown opportunities out there. Like the things that I saw a story just tonight, and it's not a crazy idea. It's nothing crazy and new innovation wise, but like she's keeping herself busy and trying to help out hospitals and nursing staffs by asking for community donations. And then she goes to a local restaurant, picks it up, and then delivers it. So she's keeping restaurants open and she's feeding the medical staff at hospitals. Like, great idea. And people, like, you could almost build a business on that right now. It's charity, of course, but like, Tony, you mentioned things are going to be more delivery based and more mobile based. After the Uber, like little blow up where everything was like, you got Grubhub, you got Uber. Like when those things blow up like that, they swell. And then all of a sudden you get your leaders and then it stops. And everybody else that tries to do it, they can't compete with those few. So it's like a small monopoly almost. And, I don't know, Phil, you're going to hate me for this. You're going to call me a commie, but some of our government regulations and rules are set up to where capitalism can't necessarily thrive because monopolies are favored many times and the little guy can never get a leg up. And you might have a great idea. You might be able to make a new business or maybe even innovate a current one, but it'll get bought up. Example, respirators. There was a company that was had a deal with the government that they were going to make thousands and thousands of respirators. And then they did not go through with it because they got bought up by another company that makes more expensive, more profitable ones. and then that contract was null and void. That shit is going on today in the midst of a pandemic, wide out in the open for all of us to see. You just have to look for this shit. And then think about the small guy. Like, I hope that's what changes at all this is that nonsense has to fucking stop. That's the only way we can get the two parties to actually agree on anything. Is we can't have that awful, like, that's the black eye of capitalism, is when people take advantage of it that way, and you have that monopoly type system going on. Capitalism's great until it goes too far with assholes like that. I don't know. Phil, you're ready to rake me over coals, I'm sure. Let's go, Phil.
Can you name any monopoly in existence that did not come into existence because of state-granted exclusive rights in manufacture or some other privilege?
Well,
that's how a monopoly forms. Is the state grants some business exclusive right to manufacture or an exclusive privilege to do X, Y, or Z, and that is how you get a monopoly. There's really no other way. You're talking about, well, we need more of these manufactured. Guarantee you there's excessive licensing preventing wider manufacture in that whatever thing you're talking about. So I get what you're saying, but it's one of those, as somebody that's done some study in free market theory, whenever I hear like that, those damn monopolies, like, well, hang on here. Let's examine what a monopoly really is. And so that's just the question I would posit to you, sir.
So take monopoly out of it then. How about let's go to that respirator issue. The company that bought out the smaller one and canceled the government contract, and now they're not going to make these thousands and thousands of respirators that are in desperate need right now. What would you call that?
So
supply and demand.
What is the reason?
Yeah.
I just want to get this precise.
I'm sorry. What's that? Tony was talking over you.
What is the reason that the respirators cannot be manufactured at a greater pace? What's the red tape holding? I just want to make sure I got this.
So the original contract was for a cheaper and faster to manufacture respirator, and the competitor company bought them out, canceled the contract, and is negotiating for their more profitable and harder to make respirators. So it's going to slow down production, but increase their profits.
To me, it sounds like a salesman overpromised and under-delivered what their engineers couldn't quite produce. And so the new company's trying to manufacture something a little more that can actually be manufactured for an actual, with the resources that are on hand. That's kind of,
You're assuming there's no ill intention and that it wasn't buy this company for profit, because they're gonna be able to make this better, more efficient, cheaper, and easier to make machine than ours.
I understand what you're getting at, yes, and it does look bad on its surface, but I always, with Occam's razor, I always try to, okay, is there a way that incompetence explains this? Because don't ever attribute malevolence what incompetence can explain. Because it does sound like a salesman, well, let me tell you, I can deliver these many machines for this little money, and we'll have them here in no time. Didn't count on a fucking pandemic dropping in the next 6 months. And I'll be honest, that's kind of what that sounds like, which, yes, that's bad. Salesman over promising. But I understand what you're saying, but you can only build what you can build with what you have. So I'd say I sympathize with both ends of that particular transaction. I understand what it's like on either end.
Sure. Tony, you got anything on that?
Well, it's easy to paint the picture like you were saying, and well, we could have done this for cheaper and more frequently out of the gate and been going and had this going, but profit says we should do it this way and this gets bought out. Yeah, it's easy to paint it in a bad picture. We don't know all the reasoning behind it, and obviously, even during a pandemic, business can't operate without some form of profit. That's the ugly side of it. So you're going to see scenarios where it looks bad, but in reality, it's just how it kind of operates normally. And yeah, it'd be great if we could just all operate at a low profit and all survive. But again, there's people out of work, so those people know all about being able to have any profit. So yeah, it's impossible to look at it from one point of view and really understand the inner workings of it. So again, business has to have profit coming from somewhere. Otherwise, everything falls apart. So it sucks, but it's nature of the beast.
I do agree with Phil to a certain extent on using Occam's razor. For me, I take Occam's razor to a different direction though. It was probably more greed than than something else. I always stick to human behavior and the nefarious nature many of us have.
That's fair enough, Chicken. I suppose it'd be easier to say you tend to see the more greed-filled side of people, and to me, because I've had so many employees on and off of my farm, let's just say I tend to see the potential for ignorance in people. That'd be a fair way of putting it.
yeah, that's fair. I'll pull up a news article here. This is a fun one. Some people have seen this, some people have not. And the day of advertising on news stories is well upon us. There's hardly any news in the middle of these web pages anymore. It's just filled with advertisements because, yeah, that's all they can do right now, and the only way they can make money. Anyway, news story is China hiding the real. Oops, said it. Damn it! I didn't even think about it until I said it. My bad. Everybody drink. Anyway, phone operators lose 21 million subscribers over COVID-19 virus outbreak. Over the last 3 months, 840,000 landlines and 20 million cell phone accounts canceled. Where did these people go?
Well, this one you shared the other day, and I kind of passed along to some of the folks that I interact with, and have a field day with this one. Basically, any of the trusted organizations available on the internet, they said that one was complete and utter bullshit. But it does, obviously that number came from somewhere. So what's the underlying? Is it just bad information? Is it infrastructure kind of falling apart? Did 21 million people, if we're assuming that everybody from that number all individually has one cell phone, that's a lot of people. You would think that even on Google Maps live, you could find a mass grave of 21 million people, because that's a staggering number to look at, regardless of you want to picture this.
So 21 million people, like you said, but they did go under like authoritarian lockdown and were told not to go anywhere. Some people were locked in their homes and boarded up windows. We've seen some crazy videos get leaked out of there. So there's obviously a chance that, hey, maybe some people just didn't pay bills. I don't know how it works in China. I have not researched it that deep. But I did find it really fascinating. I did see an article today. I was trying to find it for the show. I can't, but they like projected that if the C country, I almost said it, if they had actually went with the same model and rate of infection as Italy, with the similar death rate that they originally had, they would have over 300,000 dead, with millions actually being infected. So I don't know, like, how bad did it really get in China? Damn it, I said it. I was trying not to. Drinking. But how bad did it really get there? Drink, folks. Phil, what do you think?
We don't know.
However bad they say it is, plus more. That's how bad it's China. All right. They say it's this bad.
Damn it, he said it.
Oh, damn it.
We're not even at the last topic yet, which is all about them.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, this is going to get good.
That's how bad it is over there. I do feel for the people over there because god damn, it's going through there by the millions. But so what this tells us is, so Tony, even if we assume with this 21 million phones, if we give 3 phones per person, that's still 7 million people that just decided we don't need cell phone coverage anymore. That's more than both of our states combined of people that decided, nah, we don't need that anymore. And that's assuming each one of them has 3 phones apiece with individual plans. So I'm being conservative here. I'm trying to, it's probably closer to like 18 million fucking people that for whatever reason, just whatever reason, pick your fancy as to why, decided they don't need cellular fucking phone coverage.
Yeah, it's creepy. Heather said she missed the drinking memo. Here's the game scrolling across the screen there while I'm digging through here. Any more thoughts to the 21 million missing cell phones?
I'm trying to find some of the info that I had forcefully pushed me, but I don't think anybody's going to like it anyway. But I'll try to find some.
Yeah, I'm about
here,
to move.
Here you go. Okay, I can give you some of the insight here that I passed the exact same article that you brought to us along. It's talking about the 21 million Chinese cell phone users disappear in 3 months. Well, you realize this website is using an Epoch Times article. Epoch Times is the second largest donator for Trump's campaign in 2016 on social media advertising. They often support just about anything he tweets, whether it's true or not. Here's the original article. Here's the AP checking it out and saying it's false. And I found this on numerous websites debunking the claim with just a single Google search. So, yeah.
Was that somebody grandstanding trying to like make it that just didn't like you? Because that sounded like it had some tone to it.
Oh, well, I'm obviously adding the tone, but yeah, there was probably more tone in the implied response. So yeah, absolutely, the person doesn't like me. So no, because it all comes down to the partisan politics. And well, your news source that you're quoting here originated from this source, and we don't like that source. So take it for what it's worth. But yeah, I think, I don't know. It's
So here I recently took Tim Pool's advice and I use NewsGuard now. It shows according to the AP, the facts are major cell phone carriers in reported a loss of nearly 21 million subscriptions in January and February as the virus spread in the country. That's the fact. That's it. So what they're saying was false was you're attributing that to 21 million deaths. Well, yeah, I don't think any of us are thinking that, but it is true. 21 million subscriptions went away in January and February. That's a fact. So,
yeah,
that's NewsGuard, and they're pretty lefty. So yeah,
draw your own conclusions on that one, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
18 million. Oh
here.
God, this is great. 18 million people had information that could lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton.
Oh shit.
We're all dead now. The show's canceled.
Well,
if this feed ends right now, thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it.
Well, that's just the way that works. You get information that leads there, and you just suddenly
here, Chicken, you can pull this up if you want.
All right, I'm gonna mute my my castmates here, and we're gonna play a clip from the C-word bill, and our favorite representative, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, had a lot to say before voting for the bill, and has quite a few people pretty upset with her, to be honest. So let's jump over without any further ado. Let's get her full screen here for y'all.
I represent one of the hardest hit communities in the hardest hit city in this country, Queens, New York. 13 dead in a night in Elmhurst Hospital alone. Our community's reality is this country's future if we don't do anything. Hospital workers do not have protective equipment. We don't have the necessary ventilators. But we have to go into this vote eyes wide open. What did the Senate majority fight for? One of the largest corporate bailouts with as few strings as possible in American history. Shameful. The greed of that fight is wrong for crumbs, for our families. And the option that we have is to either let them suffer with nothing or to allow this greed and billions of dollars, which will be leveraged into trillions of dollars, to contribute to the largest income inequality gap in our future. There should be shame about what was fought for in this bill and the choices that we have to make.
So, I'll unmute my panel here. I don't disagree with most of what she said, but what did she do immediately after she voted for it? So shame on all of you. Shame on all of you. Yay. What the fuck is she doing? Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
I thought it was fascinating that looked like she was going to fly like whenever she. I'm giving my money. I'm spreading it. I'm gonna fly. That's unusual. That was just the visual. It was not a good visual for her. She seemed like it was tantrum-like. I don't know how to describe it, and it. Like young eagles is about to leave the nest and ruffling their wings for the first time to fly, and that's what it looked like to me. It did not look. It didn't look like statesmanlike. You know what I mean? It didn't look like it was professional.
Yeah, like Lynn puts it, wacky waving arm inflatable tube lady.
Yeah.
Spot on, sir. Spot on.
It doesn't matter that she voted for it because she did her promo. She cut her scathing promo. She was relatable, right? She said things that people are going to want to hear. So she saved. And then a lot of the people that heard and watched her say all that aren't even going to realize that, So, she got across what she wanted to and got loud about what she wanted to. And that's the end of it.
Yeah, she got her clickbait little news article or her YouTube clips and views and all that shit. That's basically what she was after. So, Tony, you had just sent me this one. What are we looking at here, sir?
This was one of the big articles that was responded to me when I shared that 21 million deaths. So this was the big thing that completely dissected that 21 million cell phone users vanished. Here you go, sulfur dioxide. That was the reason, apparently, I guess. I don't know. Take from what you want.
Yeah, I just don't trust some of this stuff. Like,
No, of course not. We can't trust anything that's coming out of their numbers. And unfortunately, we can't trust a lot of the numbers coming out across the world because it's everybody's jockeying for position, right?
What were they saying the sulfur dioxide was coming from? Was it actually sulfur dioxide? Like, I haven't read the article, but like,
I
have
didn't
some
read
kind
that
of
too
heat
much in depth.
signature.
Yeah, I think that was the big reasoning there. Like, okay, so once that's out of the area, or maybe it's not out of the area. So I guess what they're saying is, well, we can't get an accurate total. We can't get an accurate count. So maybe it's clearly just total bullshit because they're pulling this number out trying to scare people or it's conspiracy theory. So I guess it's kind of a wait and see. I don't think it debunks anything, in my opinion, but that was the big thing as to why the article you shared with me and I passed along was called Total Bullshit. So it's more partisan politic bullshit because it came from a certain source, and nobody wants to listen to specific sources. But like you said, you don't want to trust this source, and that person doesn't want to trust this source. It all comes down to that, who do you trust? And like you said, trust your local news, because those are the journalists who have yet to make it on the national stage, so they're going to be a hell of a lot more honest.
Yeah, unless they're reading the talking points. But go ahead.
You know
go
who
ahead.
you trust, guys. You trust the folks right here at the Dog and Chicken Show Extreme Edition. You trust Chicken, Tony G, and most of all, the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your King of Extreme, Phil KOE. That is who you trust, folks.
Absolutely. Love it. So let's wrap it up. We're about an hour and a half in. I think we got through some of what I wanted to. I didn't go on the rant that I wanted to, but I just didn't get as excited.
Do it.
No, you guys didn't get me pissed off and fired up like you usually do. So I guess
we'll stop being a piece of shit Trump defender and get your balls out of your wife's purse and go on your rant.
Balls a tug. No.
Well, I thought you might have got a little pissed when I no, Chicken. You see, you're all wrong about monopolies, there, sir. Let me show you the proper free market way. But thought that might have been
no. You guys didn't trigger me tonight.
Okay.
Nobody's been able to trigger me at all today. I got into a couple of little Facebook tiffs and I don't know. I was poking, but nobody wanted to poke back. I was baiting, man. I was baiting hard. Nobody was taking it though.
Whoa. We don't need to hear about you baiting it hard, dude.
Yeah, fair. Oh, fair enough. That was last week's stream.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So let's wrap up the night with the real question at hand that, is not being talked about, but everybody's thinking it. If China, I'm going to pull up on the screen here in just a second. If they, in fact, have covered this up and cost us thousands of American lives, is it an act of war per se? How does that look? And we have this big trade deal right now with them, and so like the tone has gone down a lot from our government. However, if the people or the news, whoever can get people riled up, do you see a potential, whether it be a Cold War or an actual war? What do you see the conflict with China? It's inevitable. I think most people know it's something is inevitable. It's today's Russia, right? It's inevitable. They are our biggest adversary. No matter how much we want to love talking about Russia, they're not as big on the stage as they think they are. But the big C, how do you see that playing out?
I don't think it was an intentional act of war. Maybe an accidental one. Maybe out of pride. Maybe out of just sheer ignorance because they thought they could contain it or didn't take it seriously themselves. But we all know where this originated. Everybody kind of knows the situation, and I don't think it was intentional. But that's always kind of been the narrative anyway. Long before this started happening, that we should be scared of China because of the sheer number population and because of technology and because of their dedication to their country and so on and so forth. So that's always kind of been the narrative anyway. I think you're right, though. This could lead into a potential Cold War because everybody's scared anyway. What better way to rally your public than behind a common enemy? So I hope it doesn't come to that point because we don't need that paranoia in the back of our heads as well. I don't want to see a hot war, especially. I don't even want to see a Cold War. But yeah, it definitely kind of feels like we're headed in that direction.
Phil, what you got, sir?
Well, Tony, we're already in a trade war. So we're already a third of the way there. So The saving grace that we have is neither side wants to lob bullets at the other. That's our one saving grace. This is going to get very complicated in the next few months. You're going to see, like the 1970s, like made in America. That was a real thing. You tried as hard as you could to make sure everything you bought was made in America. I think you're going to see a real rise with that. In terms of the Cold War, other than Africa, I can't really think of any places where there's left for there to be proxy wars anymore. So that's, yeah, there's a couple of spots in Africa that you could still do a proxy war, but I think the world's kind of fatigued of that. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, there will have to be some sort of economic back and forth for this. I don't know what, but it's going to happen. Agree with it, disagree with it. There will, like, I suspect President Trump might even run on it. If you reelect me, I'm going to do this, that, and the other to China. Vote Donald. I could see
Oh,
that.
jeez. Wow. Yeah, no kidding. Cold War, man. Yeah, that would be the way to go about getting reelected, wouldn't it?
Yeah. He's already a wartime president against a germ, so
Yeah, well,
Let's
crazy.
While we're at it.
Yeah. So real quick before I get my thoughts on there, anybody still listening in, jump over. It's free service. Sign up, jump in on there. We'll have some free content and some fun stuff. And conversation works a lot like Facebook. At dogandchickenshow.locals.com. Trying to get that one. It's a brand new site. Really cool stuff. You'll like it. Check it out. All that. But when it comes to my thoughts on a possible civil war, how many times did we say the C word between that, fellas? I'm not sure.
You should at least.
I wasn't.
We should just drink to be safe. Yeah.
Social.
So. Oh Jesus! Yeah, I'm on scotch now. My thoughts. Immediate. Phil, you're right. I think on the manufacturing part. I think we're going to have a manufacturing boom, which is what's on the agenda for our president. Right. This is what he's been talking about. Now he's got the opportunity. I don't see him missing the opportunity to capitalize on this. We're going to have this manufacturing boom. We're going to have, we'll have a little bit of fear mongering going on across the country to make us want to buy American. And with all the stimulus money that's out there, how do you prevent the major recession or even the terrible predictions that you have with our economy, Phil? You get people to start spending that money and not hold it in the banks. You want people just going. We're going to have negative interest rates because they don't want you to put it into a bank. You are going to start seeing negative interest rates because they want you to spend that money, spend that juicy gold that they've already pumped into the economy. You will see some of that.
The banks will see negative interest rates. You and I won't see negative interest. Oh, come on, sir. No.
Right. So let me explain that further. The negative interest rates, you're right, will be from the bank. So when you have right now, you have a bank statement, and every month it says, "Hey, here's the interest rate," and you get a little extra back if you had money in there for an extended period of time. Right now, if you have money in the future, what I'm saying is it'll be a negative interest rate to where if you have money in that bank account, they will take it from you because the bank has to pay their bills, and they're not going to be living off your money.
I don't see that because even a bank with heavy deposits, they use those deposits to make loans. So even if, it's kind of a misnomer that, the millionaires and the billionaires, they just keep that money in the banks and they don't make, and nothing. Anybody that goes into a bank needing a loan, that money came from somewhere, and that was the deposits of other people. So banks can, in theory, still make do with that. But now, as you're saying, with this negative interest rate, you really don't need to. There's really no incentive to do so. So I understand what you're saying, but I would suspect maybe like a 1-2% interest rate at the tops for even like a pretty decent CD account. But that's basically where we're at now. Is they're not really incentivizing you to keep it in there. But I don't think we'll ever truly get to the point where they actually subtract money just for you trying to save money. I that would be a destruction of thrift that I don't think I don't think we'd be able to bounce back from on the other side of this crash.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I've been Phil's told me I was wrong before, and things look like they're panning out correct for me. Remember, AOC will not be in office after election time. That's assuming there's an election. That's assuming we actually have elections this year.
You know what? That might be a pretty good push. It's like, well, shit, I canceled the election, chicken. Let's just call this one a push.
Yeah, it's a push. Heather, you, yes. There's a purpose for this, Heather. Given the history, believe in C. Did this on purpose, and you're right. We didn't give an actual answer to that question because we are dipping our foot in the water for next week's probably main topic is gonna be the developments because the stories are just now coming out. We need to dissect and dive into some more of that information because we have new evidence that came out here in the last 24, 48 hours of new intelligence of them transporting possible COVID or similar spreadable diseases overseas and carelessly. They think that there might be more going on there. So I am excited to read. I don't know if I'm excited to read it. It might be scary as shit, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to go with scary.
So Heather, I guess my answer to the overall question is war with China possible? You fucking right it is. You fucking right it's possible. However, I think we will manipulate it to the best of our ability to be profitable from the situation. But we'll see what the rest of the information comes out. No, Lynn. So I'll post a link when we go live on that other site. That other site will be mainly for exclusive content. So once again, that'll be on the dogandchickenshow.locals.com. Lynn was asking there. That will be more pre-recorded episodes and fun stuff like that that likely will not make it to the YouTube, as Bernie likes to say. But will be available on there. Yeah. It's free. It's free. No subscription.
Check us out on Pornhub.
Yeah, well, that's the fun part about this is I don't have to do a Pornhub account just to post the like really, really raunchy episodes. I can actually upload the really, really raunchy episodes because this is my own site with only the people that I want on there. And I have full moderation of it. I can do anything I want to it. It's really cool that way. And moderation shut off. Moderation's completely shut off except for Phil. I'll make sure everything Phil posts is moderated.
Oh. So it's like cities for grown-ups.
Oh God, I love it. All right, let's go around the horn, folks, and let's sign off for the night. And yeah, all that good stuff. Tony, what'd you learn today?
I learned that there clearly needs to be more social distancing in China.
Ah, damn it. Making everybody drink. All right.
No, I think overall, I learned that, like you said, at the top of the show, we weren't as prepared from a technology standpoint as we maybe thought we were to deal with something like this. And it's scary because you assumed that we would be. You assumed that in the digital age, we would be more than capable of functioning out of the home, business as usual, with the internet, with our cell phones, with our computers, because we do so much stuff with them already when we weren't forced to. But as soon as our cards were played for us and we were forced to, now we want to get out of the house. Now we want to go to the stores. Now we want that social interaction. It's you only want what you can't have. And that's kind of the mentality here, unfortunately. And the scary part is, well, we can't have it because there's a real danger out there. So That's my big takeaway. It's not a good one, I guess, but it's a real thought.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Phil, what'd you learn today or tonight?
I learned a lot of things tonight. We laughed, we cried. It was an emotional journey. We were all there, and you were there with me. Actually, I learned, despite how creepy it looks, there might be a very logical explanation for 21 million cell phones going off. The oh god. Oh. Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. I've learned that we're all finding ways to come together, even if we're having to be apart. So that's one thing. Chicken, what have you learned this week, sir?
I've learned that we're completely unprepared, and I really encourage everybody to really sit and think not only about your immediate future, extended future, but those around you, and what's relevant anymore in a situation like this. And not trying to get all doomsday, or try to make things scary, but when you see random people able to just say, I'm afraid of this, I want to take 2 weeks off, and every business goes, well, we'll figure it out, and they don't give a shit. You have to pay attention. They are back hiring people for some of these essential jobs. Be careful. Be really, really careful in these times. Not only keep your safety in mind, but make sure you pay attention who you work for. 1, 2, be watching how they handle the situation in general, if it's safe or not. But 3, and probably the most important, is find a way to be productive to everybody, whether it's just community, those around you, those in your household, those you know. I think those are the biggest things I'm learning this week is, if you're still working your job, great, good for you. And if you feel comfortable, your job's going to exist in 3 months, hell yeah, really good for you. But there's a lot of folks out there that their job's not going to exist. And it's going to be really, really hard to bounce back from it. So I think when you start reaching out community-wise, within, like I said, local community or whatever, but you start networking with the folks around you. They're likely able to prop you up and help you out a hell of a lot faster than your prior job that shit on you in a time of need. So hopefully that didn't happen to you, but if it did, just pay attention. You're going to be able to tell a lot about people nowadays, but most people I've seen are willing, open, and ready to help you. I think the corporate greed, I hate the low down money hungry bastards because I'm one of them and I know how they act and I know how they think. And if I was running a business right now, oh God, I can about imagine how evil I would get. Yes, Phil's buttoning up a shirt and I fucking sure as hell would too. If I had millions on the line. It's creepy. It's really, really creepy to think how many people could get fucked over right now just with one person's poor decision-making and care, lack of care for others. And there will be little consequences for folks like that. So make sure you know who you're working for. Make sure we hold those people accountable when bad things do happen. But take care of each other and help each other out. I think that's my learnings and my message to the folks out there this week. Phil, Tony, you guys want to take us away, wrap us up? I know Phil's got his big,
you go for it.
Big moment that he always likes to do. Tony, say goodbye to the folks at home. Let's
Well,
wrap this
I think Phil's just gearing up to tell everybody to subscribe to his premium cam site and premium Snapchat where you can get all the sexy Phil pics and videos, because what better way to turn a profit in a time like this?
God. I want that QR code.
Exactly. I'm excited. Phil's launching that, I think, this weekend. He's got a banana and a new Speedo. It's going to be beautiful. But yeah, like you said, find a way to be as productive as you can, even if it's not the way you really want to be, not in a time of crisis. We've got to stay positive regardless of how we do it. find the light at the end of the tunnel and just be mindful of others. Stay safe as always. Go ahead, Phil.
Do we get a Snapchat preview?
Well, no to all of that. Except for your last part there, T, about like, be nice to each other. Wow. That's quite a segue. But as I am known to say around here, folks, all that being said, folks, this has been the Dog and Chicken Show Extreme Edition Corona Chronicles. This has been a great time for us to just get together and see what's going on. And check us out this weekend. Me and Tony will be doing our full review of WrestleMania over at Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast. Check that out. And despite probably the worst intro promo of all time, Tony, yes, I am launching the KOE Nation page here shortly. So look for that, folks. I appreciate that intro promo, T. But yes, the KOE Nation is coming for all of your KOE content. But folks, do what you got to stay safe in these troubled times. Do what you got to help folks that need help in these troubled times. Stay cool, stay extreme. We'll have us a couple more cocktails on the tail end of this, folks. And Chicken, take it away, sir.
No, thanks, Phil. Always appreciated. Thanks for all tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Always looking for future guests and everybody. Got a few people on the docket here in the next couple weeks. We'll get some new faces on here and broaden our horizons and try to break some echo chambers. I'm pretty excited for some of our future guests to come. So stay tuned. We'll try to keep these twice a week, hopefully Sunday, Wednesdays as much as possible. But these assholes got WrestleMania coming up this weekend. So I'll be calling on some of those guests probably this weekend to do our next live show. As always, stay safe, be nice to each other, take care of your family, teach your kids some cool shit while you're homeschooling. Appreciate you. Love you. Bye.